Alright, here we go. This is my ranked 5v5 commentary on how to beat a late game team. Notice how almost every single champion on their team is very, very weak until level 6. Specifically, Kassadin is going to be very, very easy to bully around, especially with Blitzcrank mid. He's going to be shut down very, very hard. And what we're going to do here right away is get a ward in this brush right below the red buff. So this is going to see all the way from the tip of this red brush up to the golem camp and then down to the wraith camp. So that's going to see any invade coming through this area or coming down through the bottom half of the tri brush. The only way they can get into our buff is to come up around here through double golems, and that's the only way they're going to get in unseen. So we're just banking on them not doing that, and immediately after sending our support over to ward that, we are grouping down in this banana brush to invade the red buff. The only real objective here is to get a ward down, but since they didn't place any early wards, which generally doesn't happen, you can't count on that happening, it's pretty smart to assume that everyone is always going to ward, so you have to kind of expect them to know you're there, which is really a lot. That's really important. If you just kind of walk in and expect nothing to happen, you're probably going to get surprised and die. So anyway, Lee Sin dies. Shouldn't have died, but whatever. He's probably AFK eating food or something like that. So because of that, we just take free red buff. We're just gonna use no smite because we have ward coverage. They're not gonna steal it unless Vayne wants to flash over the wall, but she's not gonna do that. So anyway, I come in and take my red buff. Notice Blitzcrank immediately puts a pink ward in this tri brush. So, knowing it's 2v1 mid, Kassadin is pretty far up. I want to make him blow flash. Don't even care about the kill. If he blows flash, he can't get any CS in this lane. So I just come in, flag toss over, make him flash over the wall, and then I just go straight to my red buff. Notice Blitzcrank gets a pull and Kassadin dies. That shouldn't happen either. He should have gone around this way, but whatever. So I'm going to come in and take my red buff as fast as possible with smite so that I can get over to my blue and make sure Lee Sin doesn't just counter steal. So I'm going to run immediately over to my blue buff and take that. Notice in this bottom lane, they're pushed up pretty far. So that's where I'm going to go next. I'm going to help this 2v1 defend. And that's what Lee Sin should do too, immediately after. He should have done it before this camp, but not a big deal. But anyway, Fiddlesticks is warding here. I'm just going to come in. I don't even want to get a kill. My only objective is to push them back and then come over and kill this ward. So, any second now, I'm going to flag toss over this wall. Now I'm going to go around. Yeah, and I'm just going to come up, try to do something, but nothing happens. I don't care. Didn't expect to get the kill anyway. So I come in and I kill this ward, right? Now notice how far their lane is pushed up. And they don't know, I could be sitting here. If they go for that CS, I can just hop in. So they have to play really safe, which allows me to roam mid and get this tower. And not only that, Lee Sin now is forced to go bottom because they're expecting me to come gank through this tri brush. So not only do we force Lee Sin to go bottom, but we keep them from doing any damage to Xerath. And now we come in and we take this tower and we have an absolutely massive minion wave. We have almost 3 minion waves built up. So we're going to keep pushing because Lee Sin was on his way bottom and we knew almost for sure Lee Sin was going to go bottom, which allows us to just continue pushing this tower. 4 strong in the mid. So right now, smart thing to do, take the tower back off. Small mistake grabbing Kassadin, okay? We get a kill on Kassadin, but he already has 2 deaths, so it's only worth 260 gold. And this tower is worth almost 3 times as much gold for our team if we just take that. So, and because of that over-aggression there, we stayed a little bit too long, and they actually come in and get a couple of kills. So this is something that should never ever happen. This was stupid, this shouldn't have happened, but we die. So, we still have a 2k gold advantage, which is good, but to give 2 kills to a team like this that has literally like 0 kill potential for the first 6 levels is really, really bad. That's just bad on our part. I can't stress that enough. So Zed is just going to keep pushing top and trying to get this tower. Galio is pretty good wave clear. He just pushes him off. And now Fiddle is actually coming in mid to help Kassadin, because Kassadin can't do anything right now. All he can do is farm with Q, and even then he's in danger of being pulled. So that early gank really, really hurt Kassadin. So right now this mid tower is really low. It has 65 hit points. So we're going to make a play on that really soon. First, we just come in, take the red buff away. So that's 2 buffs we've denied from Lee Sin, which is pretty significant, especially with the experience increase and gold increase. So Lee Sin is really hurt right now. He's gotten very little jungle farm. Any farm that he's really gotten, he's stolen from Kassadin. So that's not the best situation to be in for them. And we're just immediately going to rotate to Dragon. We have pink ward, we have everything warded here, tri-brush all the way up around here. So we have absolutely total vision. They can't get in and take that. So that's just a free dragon for us. And then we're just going to rotate bottom and take this tower, because it is a 3v or 2v4. So that's just another free tower. Notice how against a team like this, who doesn't get strong until level 6, we want to make as many plays as possible before they get to that point. We have not stopped moving around the map. We just go tower to tower to tower to objective to dragon to red buff, and we just are doing everything possible that we can before they hit their power spike. And because we have this 3k gold lead, but when they do hit their power spike, we're still going to be on pretty even footing. And honestly, this should be a 4k gold lead. The mistake in mid really hurt us, but we should still be okay. So we're just going to back off, buy, and come in. I'm probably going to give this blue buff to Xerath. Yep, Xerath comes over, gets the blue buff. So next, we really want to pressure towers. Alright, so Fiddlesticks is just caught out. He really can't do that. His team is not anywhere near him. She's trying to get a ward on Dragon so they can maybe stop it, but he's level 5. His team's nowhere near. That's just, you can't do something like that. That's just, you'd have to expect to get killed. You can't do that. So anyway, because of that, we just come in and take mid tower immediately because it was so low. That's just easy tower there. That's just capitalizing on their mistake. Probably could have got the tower anyway, but that's just the power of Blitzcrank. Power of the hooks. Anyone who's remotely out of position is pretty much forced to die or burn flash if the Blitzcrank is good. So we're just going to come push this next tower. Again, constantly swinging, constantly rotating. Vayne is going to come get this farm. She needs that farm. If she doesn't get that farm, the game is pretty much over for them. So because we know she's going to get that farm, we can just come in and pressure this tower 4v5. And Vayne, she's going to stick around in this lane for a good 2 or 3 minutes. And this is the point when you're playing a team like this. You have to be able to push towers 4v5. If you can't push towers 4v5, they're just going to farm up and get back in the game. So that's the main focus. If you're trying to shut down a team, is you need to be able to push. Just push, because if you prevent them from being in lane and getting farm, and then they can never scale up. If Vayne has to trade 2 towers for 3 or 4 minion waves, that's such a massive advantage for us. There's absolutely no discussion there. That's such a big advantage for us. So we pull in Lee Sin. Notice how, let me go back. Okay, so their team comp, they have Galio ult, Fiddle ult, right? So what we want to do is immediately spread out. Okay, so Lee Sin gets pulled, and watch, immediately we all back out, right? These two go this way, we all back out. So we spread out, Galio can't get a good ultimate. And Lee Sin does kick Blitz does die, but honestly, not a horrible trade. And see, this we got way too, we were like, oh, we gotta kill, and then we just ran in and died. Just because we haven't killed doesn't mean they can't use their AoE abilities. But either way, we still get 4 kills, so that's alright. And now we need to go back. We need to recall it right now. Right? Like, we need to be in our base right now. But we stay for way too long. And then Lee Sin shows up, and we still don't leave, right? We get the tower, but look what happens. We all die. Not worth it. That's a really big mistake people make a lot, is staying way too long, especially in solo queue. People just, they push mid, and they get an inhibitor, and they just sit in mid for a good 20 or 30 seconds doing nothing. There's no reason to do that. There's nothing there. You're not going to push their Nexus towers. Like, just back off, take their jungle creeps and buy. Like, I've seen so many games get thrown from people just sitting around after an objective is taken, just fishing for kills. And a good team is you're never going to get those kills against a good team, because they know when they have the advantage and they know when they don't, and they're not going to fight you if they don't have the advantage. So, and that's why pushing towers is so important, because it forces them to fight you even when it's an unfavorable situation. They either have to fight you or they're going to lose the tower. So they have to make a choice. And a lot of teams will make the choice to just hold on to the tower as long as possible by clearing minion waves and not actually fight. And that is the best thing to do if you are a late game team, is to have lots of wave clear and then try to 4v5, stop their push while your carry farms a side lane, which is what they did with Vayne going this way. But they just didn't have with Kassadin. I feel their real flaw in their team comp is Kassadin, because their only wave clear is Galio, and Galio doesn't have enough ability power to clear these minion waves. So if they had picked wave clear, they probably would have done a lot better. But anyway, I'm gonna go back to taking this dragon. Okay, so we take this dragon, and the call is to immediately go bottom, right? But then you see you have Ezreal and Blitz and Xerath going mid for 6 minions, right? There's nothing in this lane. There's 6 minions, and we have 3 people going in for 6 minions. So because of that, it's a 3v1 on Zed, because I'm slightly out of position, because I'm backed off, because I know we can't fight them, right? So because of that, we get stomped, right? We have a 6k gold lead, and we just lose, we just die. And it's the reason is it's probably 5 seconds running here to here, Blitz and Ezreal. Those 5 seconds gave them 4 kills. So that just shows you how important it is to listen to a call, because if everyone had gone bottom, we probably would have aced them right there. So that's another huge mistake. If we were playing against a good team, we would have lost the game immediately off of that. There would have been no coming back from that. The gold is 3k, and they just have this massive high scaling AoE team with, not only they have AoE silence Fiddlesticks, they have target silence Kassadin, right? They have the fear, they have the Galio ult to pull everyone in. They have Bulwark for Vayne, who's going to get 85 armor and magic resistance. We're not going to be able to kill Vayne late game unless she just walks into a Xerath stun, which is probably not going to happen, especially against a good team. So that, honestly, fatal mistake. Just the 5 seconds to walk from here back to here would have cost us the game if this team was solid. So that time is so important, especially against a team like this. You have to use every single second to your advantage, right? So now, Kassadin is pushing mid. We're just going to push bottom. It's really simple. You just push lanes against teams like this. There's not a whole lot more to it. There are ways, if you have a global, you'll shut down a team, because if we had Shen could be at this tower right now and just force them to peel off on him. So they walk into our jungle. Not the most favorable fight, but it's better than fighting them at their tower. So I go in on it, because I know that if we just continue poking the tower, it's going to take too long, and they're going to slowly catch up. Not necessarily catch up in gold, but the gold will stay fairly even. And because they scale better than us, we'll just slowly lose. So anyway, they come in and fight. Probably a bad idea. Not sure what they thought there. They could maybe have done Fiddle actually didn't use ult. And Galio actually didn't use ult either. So that is why they lost that fight. I'm not sure what happened there, but that's pretty a bit. See, because if this gold they got there allowed them to theoretically win this fight, right? And if they had played that properly, they would have beat us again, and the game would have ended. So that's just, again, this 5 seconds here to here, simply not just for 2.5 seconds late listening to the call leads to 4 kills, which honestly should have given them the game if they played it correctly. So that is so important to listen and react quickly. That is, I just can't stress that enough. It's so important. And anyway, you can tell by the way the last few minutes of this game have gone. Lee Sin is level 10 and I'm level 9. I've gotten 2 of his buffs and I've gotten 2 dragons, and it's 6 turrets to 2. Turrets give experience. So that shows you like what those last few mistakes have actually done to this game. Lee Sin has passed me in experience. He has a lot more CS than me, so that is taking away from his team's CS. But honestly, if you look at the CS right now, Kassadin 99, Zerath 101. It's not too far off. They're really right in this game. But anyway, we're just baiting around Baron vision control, right? And that's the best thing you can do with Blitzcrank, is just gain vision control, right? I'm gonna go back. So here we just come in and we pink this, right? We ward this. This is warded. So Zed is gonna come in, jump on Fiddle Fear, too strong. Can't do anything there. So they're fighting for their blue buff. This is not where you want to fight. So they get super chunked, and they basically throw the game over a blue buff. So really bad by them. It's not, you don't want to do that. Like, their team wasn't even in position, and even if they were in position, we were too spread out to get a good combo on us. So that's just really bad for them, and we don't actually get much off of it, just because with their team we're not far enough ahead to take Baron. It's too early in the game. So fortunately for them, they don't get anything. But here is their fatal error. The support Fiddlesticks is farming side lane gold. Well, he sees our entire team on this ward. So pretty big mistake from Fiddlesticks, especially no escape, and he's the support. So that's pretty bad. Kassadin would have gotten away with that because of his ult. But we just push this tower, right? Vayne is pushing this tower. So what we want to do, take this inhibitor immediately and then get out, right? But right now, our team is running away from a 3 versus 5. So because of this stutter and this back, this wasted probably a good 5 seconds. And what it did is it allowed Fiddlesticks to respawn and come in and get the silence, get the fear, and get the ult. So because of that, again, because of that small stutter step, it's probably 3 or 4 seconds wasted just from backing out a tiny bit in a 3 versus 5. And because of that, Vayne is just going to take this inhibitor back. So for us, that's a horrible trade, because their team scales so well, and them getting an inhibitor makes it much more difficult to push these lanes. And it's a top inhibitor, so they can just push up. They can just continue farming this wave and just be in position to defend Baron. So that for us is an absolutely terrible trade. And then here's another big mistake. We get a kill on Kassadin, but if you look at Kassadin's score, he's 2-7. And not only that, we sent 2 people back to defend Vayne after the inhibitor was dead, right? And Vayne just ran up. She just, like, we had 2 people in base. Vayne is here. She just runs through, right? And now it's a 3v5 theoretically. Kassadin's already dead, but so that was just such a terrible play for us. The inhibitor was already gone. We should have just gone back together. There was no reason to recall there. And And that's another big error people make, is they don't know how to deal with a split push, right? A lot of times what happens is you'll see 3 or 4 people start their recall at once, and then everyone sees, oh, he's recalling, and then they all cancel their recall. And then that wastes 3 or 4 seconds, which is huge in this game, as we've already seen. Just 3 or 4 seconds makes such a big difference. It's unbelievable. So anyway, Zed is pushing this side lane, and he's really strong, so he does get the kill. But this is something you don't want to do. A lot in the LCS, you see Zed split pushing a lot, and it works. If our whole team is right here, or our whole team is right here, he can split push that side lane. Because if they send 2 people like they did there, we can just take a tower or take a Baron. But since no one was in position, Zed really just dies. He trades, but he's worth a lot more gold than Kassadin right now. So it's really not worth it. But anyway, we have complete vision control, and they have no vision. So we just take the Baron. It's a little risky. We didn't even have a pink. But at this point in the game, we knew how well they scaled, and we knew if we didn't make a big play soon, they may have won. So we were like, okay, we gotta do something now. Because Kassadin was dead, and he's a lot of how they win fights. Because if he can ult in and silence Xerath, and then that's going to be very, very detrimental, because then in that time while Xerath is silenced, Fiddlesticks can ult in and then silence him again, and then fear him. So they can really shut down Xerath for the duration of a fight. So here's what happens. We take the Baron and we run. Notice we took the Baron and we're chasing, right? Chasing. What's that? Probably 2 or 3 seconds we spent chasing there. Not sure if it was avoidable, but I could easily have flag tossed over this wall. Ezreal could have shifted over this wall. Blitzcrank could just use his speed buff to run away. And then if Kassadin wants to chase us 1 versus 4, let him do that, because he's not going to be successful. But if we had run right away, we would be at this tower, and Vayne would not be able to do this. So there's another case of staying for too long. By far the most common mistake in League of Legends is just overstaying. And that's why you see people get ganked so much in lane, because they push their wave up, and now this wave is at the tower, right? So what happens when you push a wave to the tower is the wave will naturally push back because of the damage that the turret is doing to the minion wave. It gives the minion wave of the tower that has been pushed a small advantage, because the tower has done some damage for it. So because of that, the lane will naturally push back. So if you push a wave to a tower and you just recall and you come back, you're going to come back with almost 2 full minion waves pushing to your lane, and you're not going to miss very much. Whereas if you stay, there's probably a good 10-15 seconds where you can't even get CS unless you come way up, almost in tower range, and that's just so dangerous. So basically, you're gaining maybe 2 or 3 CS from staying in that lane, and you're just making it incredibly risky for a gank. Unless you have everything warded, you should never do that. Not only that, but if you recall it, you then have an item advantage, so you're better off in lane. So it's just better to leave and not get those 2 or 3 CS. The exception would be is if you're baiting their team into ganking you, so your team can take Dragon or other objectives or other towers. You see this a lot. Well, like when specifically Moscow 5, you see Darien dying all the time, and everyone says, "Oh, Darien's bad. Darien's feeding. Darien's the reason why Moscow 5 lost." But that's really simply not the case. Darien is he's a professional player. He knows what he's doing. He pushes up and plays aggressive on purpose because he wants their jungler to be top. Because if their jungler is top, it's a 4 versus 3 on the rest of the map. And Moscow 5 is good enough to where they can win a 4 versus 3 significantly every single time. So essentially what ends up happening is they trade a death on Darien for basically lane dominance in every single other lane. And then eventually what happens is Darien's worth no gold anymore. So he can just be this pest who they get maybe 100 gold for killing him. And he can just push and push and push and push. And it's not worth it for them to go up there. They don't get anything worthwhile. They can kill three or four minions later in the game and get as much gold as they would from killing the top laner who has deaths and is pushing. So because of that advantage, it allows Moscow 5 to win a lot of games. It's a really, really effective strategy, but it also takes a lot of coordination. And you have to be a really good team, because if the top laner dies and your team doesn't get an advantage off of it, then obviously it's not a good trade. So it's something you don't want to do. But anyway, enough about that. Back to the game. Not a whole lot's been happening, so I just kind of been talking. We see this inhibitor is up. That honestly should be our next objective. Here, Blitzcrank gets caught out, right? But look at this 3-man grouping right around Blitzcrank. So Xerath gets all 3 ults on 3 people. Because of that, even though Blitzcrank died immediately, we're still going to win this fight. It's just so much damage. Blitzcrank really offers... Once he's on cooldown, Blitzcrank offers nothing. Once he pulls and silences and knocks up, it really doesn't matter if he dies. And he got the silence, he got the knock up, he held it in place long enough for our team to come in and do work. So even though Blitz was out of position, it's really not a big deal. If I saw a professional team doing that, I would say they did it on purpose. They were baiting, right? We weren't baiting, but honestly, it could have easily been a bait. 2 inhibitors off of that. So diving for the support, depending on the team you're playing against, is usually a bad idea. If you're ahead and you have the lead and you're the team with AoE CC, then you really don't want to do it, because the only way you kill them is if you use your AoE CC. But the thing is, you're using AoE CC on one person, so the effectiveness of that ability is massively reduced, and so that just gives the other team a big advantage. When you would want to do it is if your team is behind and you have someone like maybe a Jace or something like that who doesn't really have long cooldowns and has a lot of single target burst. So what he can do is he can burst the support and just back out with acceleration gate. He can gate in, Q, kill him, and then just back out right through the gate and escape. And your team essentially loses nothing for it. And that's a time when it's totally okay to kill the support. But their team, a lot of their abilities are very long cooldowns. So anything that they waste to kill that support it's gonna open a 5 or 6 second window in which we can just go ham. We can dive in and just do all the damage we want, and they really have no answer for it. Really, the only way that they can beat our team is if they get a 4 or 5 man silence that will prevent us from flashing out, and then Galio can flash ult on 4 or 5 people. That would allow them to win a team fight, because when that happens, Lee Sin can get in position and kick 2 or 3 people into each other and get a knockup, which is going to result in almost 4, maybe even 5 seconds of crowd control. If you think about Fiddle Fear, Kassadin Slow, our team's going to be locked up for so long, and that's going to allow Vayne to do so much damage. She's going to get 2, maybe 3 Silver Bolt procs, which is, at this point, she has Last Whisper, she has Phantom Dancer. That's enough to kill me. And the thing is, during that time, we have no retaliation, so it essentially becomes a 4v5 without their AoE CC, obviously. But we're really relying on Jarvan Cataclysm to lock down Kassadin, because Kassadin is going to Rift Walk in, right? And the time he has before his next Rift Walk is up is plenty of time to kill him while he's inside the Cataclysm. So here we're going to go for Baron, right? We have Zed push bottom to force their team to come down, so we get this tower. Right now, we should back off, right? We need to leave immediately because Kassadin's super, super fast. Vayne is running up, right? We got this tower. We got this tower for 1 kill, which is a very favorable trade, right? And Lee Sin has the stronger smite execute damage, so he picks up that kill. And they get Baron, and they get an ace. So what would have happened if we had backed off of the Baron, right? Kassadin was already here. Vayne was already here. Right? We still would have had all these minions. They would not have been able to respond in time. This tower still would have gone down. This inhibitor probably would have gone down. Maybe not. But anyway, if we just back out, they don't get Baron, they don't get an ace, and we still probably get this inhibitor. We still probably get this tower. And then because they're way out here, right? And it's a 4 versus 5. So they're going to be like, oh, the base, recall. And if we were all still alive, we could have just stalled them and stopped their recalls, and our minions would have just destroyed the Nexus. Maybe, if not the Nexus, definitely this tower. Even with 4 people defending, this tower still got to almost half HP. So if we could have stalled them for maybe 3 or 4 seconds from recalling, it may have been the game. But regardless of that massive, massive mistake, we still have 3 inhibitors, which almost guarantees the victory. This is so incredibly hard to come back from. Even if you have a gold lead and you're a better scaling team, it's almost impossible to win in this situation. Because what a team can do is they can just come in and back out, and come in and back out. And if you chase them at all, you're going to have 6 super minions on your Nexus towers. So you can just run away and wait for minions, which is what we're doing here. We're just running away. And here, right, Zed was a little bit caught. So Xerath dies without blowing flash. This was easily avoidable. I mean, it's just this whole time I'm yelling back, right? I'm Jarvan. So go back more. Right, at this point, see, we're super spread out. Blitz should have gone this way. Zed should have gone this way. We've created enough distance to not get caught out. But because they go through here, we now have Zed and Blitzcrank in the front. Zed and Blitzcrank don't want to be in the front. Blitzcrank wants to be in the back line to pull someone in, right? Zed wants to be on the side, honestly, to flank around the back. So we have horrible positioning in this fight because they tried to cut across. They could have easily gone around the side over to here, and that honestly would have been a perfect position. If we had 3 here and 2 here, they can only either hit these 3 with crowd control or these 2. And Ezreal is not going to get hit with crowd control. He's way too slippery. So Ezreal would easily have gotten away. If they use their AoE crowd Galliot on only Jarvan, me, that's not a very effective use, and they're going to lose that fight. So again, AoE CC spread out. If we had one person, kind of 2 people, well, Blitz and Zed, kind of where this ward is, Zed can come around the back and attack and just pick off people low health running away, right? And Blitzcrank could maybe even wait for Galio to ult and just pull him over this wall and just completely isolate him from the fight, because Blitz doesn't do nearly as much as Galio, and if he can pull him over and make it a 1v1 support versus top lane, that's incredible for us. So we should have won that fight. We easily could have won that fight and ended the game. But regardless, since they have 3 inhibitors down, 2 of their inhibitors actually respawn during that. But because they're fighting us, they immediately died to the double super minion waves. right? So once again, we have double super minion waves and we are pushing in. The objective at this point is to not fight. Now, all we have to do is not fight. And you see Blitzcrank fighting. He runs in and knocks up Lee Sin and immediately dies. So, you don't want to do that. I don't think I even need to say that. But regardless, we do have double super minion waves. So it really just delays our victory. It's just gonna, all it's really gonna do is allow the super minions to continue piling up. We probably would not have fought during the time period that Blitzcrank died, respawned, and ran in. The reason being is we want to pile up as many super minions as we can. You see this bottom lane had 4, 2 of them just died, but they don't have enough damage to constantly keep all the waves pushed. They have to send. Vayne can clear waves really fast, and is really the only player on their team who can do that. Galio clears the small minions, but the super minions he does almost nothing to. So if it was a 4 versus 5, we'd probably have minions surrounding this base already. But because he died, it slightly delays our victory. We wouldn't have fought anyway, but still, we can maybe bait them into not clearing minion waves and fighting us, or if they go too deep to clear minion waves, then we can just come in and catch someone out. If anyone on their team dies, we auto win the game. It's an immediate victory. We can just ignore them and zerg the Nexus. So anyway, here we go. 2 super minions top. 4 super minions mid. 2 super minions bottom. So every inhibitor is now being pressured. So here's I think we play this one correctly this time. Notice how we're very spread out. I'm in bottom lane, and then these 4 are in top lane. The reason I'm doing this is I know if they even try to kill me, we can kill the Nexus in 2, maybe 3 seconds. So Zed jumps in on Vayne, kills her in a second, just dies instantly. And that really wins us the game. Because Vayne is not only the only one who can clear minion waves, she is by far the strongest person on our team. So Vayne dies. They're forced to try to fight us, but it doesn't matter because they can't kill us anyway. And we just come in and we take the win. There's really no good options for them at that point. Like I said, 3 inhibitors down, pretty much impossible to win. I don't think I've ever seen a game where the person with 3 inhibitors down has won. I think I've seen Kog'Maw, a team with Kog'Maw do it in some tournament, but it's really not going to happen unless the pushing team just makes a mistake continuously, 3, 4, 5 mistakes in a row, to the point where the defending team has a big gold advantage and all 3 inhibitors have respawned and they are able to get wards everywhere in their jungle because they have to be able to see you backdooring from really far away. But yeah, that's the game. It's overall, I would say the most important thing is push towers. Biggest thing you can do against a late game team is push towers. This not only allows you to come in and steal their jungle, which keeps them from farming, but it allows you to pressure objectives that they can't afford to lose, like an inhibitor tower. And it forces them to sit here and defend instead of farming, right? So that's a really big deal. Again, they can always send their carry bottom or top, depending on where you're pushing, and then try to defend 4 versus 5, which is probably the best option for any late game team. And this, you see CLG do this a lot. This is exactly what CLG does. CLG knows how to win late game. Vulcan is the same way, right? They have a super hyper carry AD with really, really good escape. Like, for example, Vayne, Doublelift plays Vayne a lot. Vayne has stealth and a massive movement speed boost. Just really, really high damage. And is really, really maneuverable with the tumble. It's a pretty low cooldown. And if they send one person to fight Vayne's either going to just condemn them away and then just roll away, and then, or she's going to kill him. So unless you have an assassin like a Zed, it's really hard to stop that push. But if you have a Tristana, Zed can't really do anything to Tristana. She's gonna ult him away and then just jump away. And he theoretically can stop the split push, but what you have to understand is if Tristana is here, right, and Zed is pushing, Tristana's gonna jump back to here and push Zed back to here. And what's gonna happen then is Tristana has a 3 or 4 second head start to get back into this fight, which means they have an advantage, and it means that we have to back away because we can't fight a 4 versus 5. And really the only response to that is to have Zed just push, right? But if Zed's pushing and we back away, they're just going to kill Zed. So this is where team communication really comes in. You have to be really decisive with your decisions. You have to know exactly when to reassert your aggression so that Zed can push without getting jumped on. Because if Zed pushes a tiny, tiny bit too early, they'll just peel off, kill Zed, and then be able to defend this tower. So the timing has to be absolutely perfect. And there's really no room for error. You have to respond at exactly the right time. And that really, League of Legends it's a game of seconds. Every second is important, especially in a 5v5 game. As you saw with this dragon fight here, just running up from dragon up to not even to the side brush, just gave them 4 kills, and it just lost like all the pressure we had. It allowed them to come in, ward up their jungle, and have vision, and then it would be us who is all respawning in base and going in blind. We have no idea where any of them are. We don't have any wards on the map, and they know exactly where we are, and they already have their wards, which means that they have a 10 or 20 second lead on us, because we immediately have to go group up and get our wards down, because not only we have no pressure on the map, which means they're free to do anything they want. So they could be camping right here just waiting for someone, and they wouldn't lose anything from it because we have no tower pressure. We're all in base. So that's just, if you can get, honestly, I would say positioning and just map vision is almost better than gold, because if you have superior vision, you can pick and choose when to fight, and you can pick and choose when to run away. And that's what Fnatic does so well. That's why Fnatic beats everyone, because they just don't fight you. They just know where everyone is, and they just respond appropriately. If someone pressures top, they just push bottom, and they pick characters with a lot of wave clear and a lot of tower pushing potential, and it allows them to just work people all over the map. They can go wherever they want, whenever they want, and if you overcommit to them, they're gonna push 2 or 3 towers on you. And that's just why Fnatic wins games. And honestly, in my opinion, that's the most effective playstyle, because you can be down 10,000 gold and still execute that. The only counter to that is to be able to just push 2 Nexus turrets, or just push like 2 towers at once, because if you push 5 mid, they're automatically going to trade back an inhibitor. So if you're going to come in and only take 1 inhibitor, that's unfavorable for you, because they have the pushing team, right? They're the team that wants those super minions to apply pressure constantly and not force them to send someone to that lane in order to create tower pressure. So because they have superior wave clear, the super minions aren't a problem to them. They can just clear out the minion wave and push up. But it's just it's really this game is, everyone always talks about, oh, this guy's so good, right? Like, just, oh, this guy's so good, like, I don't know, maybe Wei Zhao, right? Or Flame or Shy, right? Oh, he's so good at the game, he crushes everyone. But that's not what wins games. Playing well doesn't win games. Or playing well in lane, I should say, very rarely wins games. Because superior coordination and communication are going to beat you every single time. If just like the 2 or 3 seconds can mean a 4v5 or a 5v5, and it's such a big advantage. If you think about, if you look at the gold right now, right? If even if Fiddlesticks isn't there, if it's a 4 versus 5, that is a 10,000 gold swing, because the support went the wrong direction for 2 seconds and is now 4 seconds late to the fight. Your team is now 10,000 gold behind. And that's why it's so important to be positioned correctly, and to honestly, you have to follow one person. You have to understand, if this call is made, I have to do it, because even if the call isn't the best, it's better than just having a few people go this way and a few people go that way. Because if you do that, unless it's coordinated, obviously, you can't win like that. You have to be coordinated, and you have to know when to apply pressure and when to back off, and it's really just game experience. It's not something that I can just tell you and you'll get it and you'll understand. It's something you really have to learn for yourself. There's an extent to which it can be taught, but even then, you're in game alone, right? There's no one there to tell you this or to tell you that, especially in solo queue, when it's all so uncoordinated. If you have a team, if your team will just follow the pings of one person always, and that person knows what they're doing, you can win any solo queue game. I've played solo queue games where I'm 20,000 gold in lead, 20,000 gold behind, and the other team, all they do is they just follow one person. When this person pings here, the team goes there. They don't question it. They don't go take wolves. They don't go take wraiths. They just go. They go follow their team, and they win the game, because the other team is uncoordinated, and they're like, oh, I want the wraith gold, right? I want the wolf gold because I need my items so I can carry. But the thing is, if you get the 90 gold from late game wraiths and you die, and it's a 4 versus 5, you're essentially trading 90 gold for 10,000 or 15,000 gold. And that's so bad. I mean, coordination is so key in this game. Like, you can be as good as you want, and you'll still lose because you're not smart and you're not making the correct plays. And the same goes for someone who's maybe not incredibly mechanically skilled, but they're smart and they know where to go and they know what to do, and they understand when they can or can't be successful in a trade or a gank or taking an objective, and they'll play around the opponent's strengths. They'll just, you can outplay someone who's better than you. It's really not that difficult, especially if that person doesn't understand the game. It's really, this game knowledge is by far the most important thing in League of Legends. The best example I can give for that is Wild Turtle, right? Wild Turtle has 2, maybe even 3 accounts in Challenger. I mean, the guy is good. He is incredibly good. Debatably the best solo queue player on the planet. I mean, to have 2 or 3 accounts in Challenger and, like, at the same time be practicing with your team and scrimming and competing in the LCS, that is difficult. I mean, there's professional players who struggle to get even 1 character in Challenger. I mean, Wild Turtle is really, really, really good. But you'll see when he's in a competitive game, like some games he'll go 6-0 in the first 20 minutes, right? And he just wins and he carries. But other games he'll go 0-3 or 0-4 and he'll lose his tower and he'll be behind in CS and he'll get caught out and he'll essentially lose his team the game despite being the best player on his team mechanically. Maybe the best player in North America mechanically, but because he has the solo queue mentality of I'm going to go and make a play and I'm going to carry because I can't trust anyone else to do their job, which is really what you have to do in solo queue if you're going to rise up, is you have to play champions that can carry the entire team on their own because you can't trust your team to do the correct thing. And a lot of times I see Wild Turtle doing that in the game. Like he'll get ganked and instead of running away or flashing out, he says, oh, I can outplay these people, because in solo queue he usually can because he's that much better. But in such a high level of competition, there's not a lot you can do. You can't outplay a Nocturne Fear, right? It's point and click. There's no way to outplay that. You're just going to get feared and you're just going to die. There's no Lee Sin skill shots that you can dodge, or there's no Lux Snare that you can flash over or dodge. You know, it's just, you have to give, at a high level of play, you have to give the other team a certain amount of respect. And Doublelift, despite saying everyone's horrible, that's just a troll, right? He's putting on an act because the fans like it, right? And it's honestly, that's really smart, right? He knows, he comes in, he's entertaining, he's fun to watch, he's fun to listen to, like, oh, what did Doublelift say now, right? But really, he's just a troll, right? He knows that other players are good. He knows that he makes mistakes, and he knows that sometimes he has to just say, all right, I can't outplay this. I have to back away, and I have to essentially surrender for a period of time. And that's something that Doublelift didn't used to do, right? And he still does it sometimes, but he's getting a lot better. And that, at Wild Turtle right now, is at the stage where Doublelift was maybe a year ago, where he would constantly get caught out. He would win lane every single game, and he would be quite possibly the best player in the game, but he would lose his team the game despite being 7-0 or 8-0 because he would make one tiny mistake and die, and then all that gold that's been channeled into him is now useless. It doesn't matter. At that point, the team would be better off with a platinum or like a low diamond AD carry, because they don't have, it's 4 versus 5. At that point specifically in the game, they'd be better off with someone who isn't good but doesn't get caught out. And that's the point where Wild Turtle is right now. He's very, very good, but I think he needs to mature a little bit. He needs to calm down and kind of get his emotions in check, get his, I guess, hormones or his adrenaline rush, and he needs to control it. Because if he gets excited and he goes ham and dies, TSM's not gonna win, and that's why you've seen TSM lose a few games. I would say at least half of the games TSM has lost in this summer split have been because of Wild Turtle. And Wild Turtle is a very good player. I mean, don't get me wrong. He's quite possibly the best or maybe second best mechanically skilled AD carry in North America. But again, it doesn't matter how good you are if you're uncoordinated and you don't understand when you can and you can't go aggressive. And honestly, for players out there who are trying to get good, who are trying to play ranked 5's and maybe get up to diamond or, you know, whatever, or just have a fun time with your friends, that's the biggest thing I can say. If you can find a player who at a I would say a higher level of play, but not the highest. Like if you have a player on your team who's really, really good and they know they're good, right? And they're just a brat, and maybe they get a few kills in lane and they're like, but they get cocky and then they die, right? And then they usually blame the team, right? It's like, guys, where were you? I went in. But no, it's not the team's fault. It's his fault. It's completely his fault, because if one person does something and 4 people don't, it's not the 4 people's fault. It's the one person's fault, because he either didn't make a call or ignored a call. He played as if it was a 1 versus 1 game, and he lost his team the game despite being probably maybe even the best player in the game. He became the worst player in the game in a matter of seconds, because he couldn't control his emotions and he couldn't make a proper decision in the fight, or he didn't know what the proper decision was. And unless you have time to groom a player like that and teach them to make the proper decisions, which very rarely is the case, that you have the time to do that, or someone who's willing to learn, it's better to have a player who's smart and consistent than someone who's really, really good but will make mistakes at key points in the game because he just thinks he's better than everyone, and he tries to win the game on his own instead of letting his team help him win the game. So that's my opinion. You can feel free to disagree if you want, but I have over 5,000 games played on this account. I've played lots of games on other accounts. I don't have a total for you. I don't want to know the total. But I've spent a lot of time on this game, and whether you choose to believe it or not, I know what I'm talking about. I understand League of Legends. I know how to win games, and I know why games are lost. And those are honestly the 2 most important things in ranked 5v5. You need to understand how to get an advantage, how to press an advantage, and you need to understand how to play when the other team has an advantage. And you need to understand what it is that gave the other team that advantage, and then what it is that actually gave your team an advantage. So not only do you need to be able to make plays, but you need to understand exactly what occurred in order for those plays to take place. You can be a team who just does incredible things and wins a game, but they're just running around randomly, right? And the cards just happen to align correctly, and they just crush the other team, right? But then they just keep queuing up, and they learn nothing, right? If you go back and you look at the replay and you see, okay, so here's what we did, here's where they were, and this is why we won. You can find a way to force teams into the position that allows you to do that. For example, this pink ward in Tribrush, right? Forced Lee Sin to go bottom. I mean, we could have maybe just like, oh, let's push mid, and Lee Sin happened to go bottom. That's not us outplaying anyone. That's not us being better. That's just luck. Lee Sin happened to go bottom, so this tower happened to be available. But with this pink ward, it forced Lee Sin to go. That is outplaying. Like that's how you win games. You can win as many games as you want, and you can beat people, but there's a certain cap that you're going to reach where you stop winning because you're not evaluating the team fight, or you're not evaluating the level 1, or you're not evaluating the early ganks, or you're not evaluating the positioning around dragon, or you're not evaluating what to do in a split push, or all these situations. You need to understand how to respond both when you're trying to accomplish these goals or when the other team is trying to accomplish these goals. And in my opinion, it's more important to have a strategy and understand what you're going to do in order to win than to actually practice the winning. You can win as many times as you want, and it doesn't matter because you're a good player and you're beating people and you're winning the game, but there is going to come a point where the people you're playing against are just as good as you. and then you're going to stop winning, and you're going to lose every single game because the other team has a plan. They know exactly where they want to go, when they want to go there, and they know what to do when you make a play. They have a plan. They listen to the other team, and because no one in the game is significantly better than anyone else, it's always the team that plans better and listens better that will win the game. And that's just the facts. People will disagree with me, but they're wrong. That's all I can say. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys.